I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling. Shouldn't be trusting me, I could be making it all up, you know. Out of control, you don't know me. I'm a danger to myself.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically Me, featuring me. No special guest, just me. I'm going to apologize for my background right now because I don't film out here anymore. If you watch any of my older videos, this is kind of the setup, but I had a desk in front of me and everything because I was working out of my garage. I have moved everything inside to 2 separate locations, yet I am still forced to be out here in the garage to make this video right now. Otherwise, I'm not going to be on schedule. So I apologize for just the change in background, but I wanted to get face to face with you guys because I've been doing voiceovers the last like 5 or 6 videos. So, hey, did you miss me? I missed you. All right, today is going to be a whole different case. If you are new here, welcome. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I hope that you enjoy and you learn something from what I present to you on this case. This is an older case, a 2013 case. So I'm going to take y'all back for a bit, okay? This is an unsolved case. There is a new detective on this case, and you know, it really is weird that they don't have a suspect on this case because there were people around when these things happened. So it's kind of weird that nobody has come forward at this point. Nevertheless, let's get right on into it. What happened to Adrienne Salinas? Adrienne Celeste Salinas was born on November 5th, 1993 in Tempe, Arizona, to her parents, Suzanne and Rick Salinas. She was daddy's little girl. Rick Salinas was a single father, and he did the best that he could to raise Adrienne. He has been described by those who know him as a gentle giant, a big, burly man with an equally big heart. Adrienne and her father had a very close relationship. Even at the age of 19 and living out on her own, they were still just as close, frequently going to the movies and texting and talking over the phone daily. Adrienne was described as a sweet girl, more on the quiet side. She kept her circle small, but she was said to have always been friendly to everyone she met. Her best friend from grade school described Adrienne to have an intimidating intelligence, and she even said that had Adrienne not been so meek-mannered, she would have terrified people with how intelligent she was. And her smile. Everyone brought up her smile when questioned about her. She had this big, beautiful smile in all of her photos, as well as in real life. At 19 years old, Adrienne was just beginning life as an adult. She had moved out of her father's house into an apartment still in her hometown of Tempe, Arizona, with 2 of her closest friends, Shady Dugan and Rebecca Flores. Rick Salinas recalled the moment during an interview, and he said that he didn't want her to move, but at the same time, she was 19, and he knew he had to let her kind of spread her wings. She was attending college in Tempe, and she had a job as well. However, she had taken a small leave of absence from work due to an illness that she acquired that was serious enough to require lung surgery. She had valley fever, which is a desert fungal infection. On the night of June 14th, 2013, Adrienne and her roommates hosted a birthday party for a mutual friend at their apartment. Adrienne was said to be in a bad mood and not really wanting to party, but it was her house, so she was just gonna suck it up and try to enjoy herself. The party kicked off at about 10 p.m. and there was said to be about 40 people in attendance. Rebecca Flores said that they had mutual friends together as well as their own friends on the side, and all were invited. As many people as they could get to come were welcomed. The party soon filled the first floor apartment, and it even spilled out into the front yard. Among those 40 people was a kid named Francisco Arteaga, known by everyone as Fran. He was also somewhat of a boyfriend to Adrienne. I say somewhat because they were talking to each other as a couple, but they were not official or exclusive. He was also the reason Adrienne was not in the mood to party that night. Adrienne had treated the relationship as if they were exclusive, though, frequently ignoring flirtations or advances from other guys when she was out. To Adrienne, she and Fran were together. She only had eyes for Fran. Fran, on the other hand, was flirtatious with other girls. He had strong feelings for Adrienne, but he didn't want the label of boyfriend-girlfriend. He was even said to be talking regularly to another girl in addition to Adrienne. The two had known each other since elementary school, and over the years had been on and off together. Adrienne always wanting exclusivity, and Fran just not wanting that label as a boyfriend. What her friends thought about the relationship was that Adrienne could have done better. Fran was an awkward kid and goofy, not in a bad way, but Adrienne was a bombshell. Fran was well liked by everyone though, and his personality was likely what attracted Adrienne to him. They were quite different from each other though. On the night of the party, the differences became quite clear. While at the party, it was said that Fran had been talking to a few other girls, and this really upset Adrienne. It was the final straw for her that evening. She eventually confronted him, and they began to argue. To avoid arguing in front of everyone at the party, they ended up leaving and driving the 15 or 20 minute drive to Fran's apartment in Scottsdale. Fran said that they arrived back at his apartment at about 2:30 a.m. There, the argument continued to go nowhere Adrienne wanted it to. So eventually, she walked out, telling Fran she's going back home, she's over it, she's done. And remember, I said it was a 15-20 minute drive. So Fran got concerned right away about Adrienne's safety. The fact that it would take her forever to get home. It's the middle of the night. So he jumps back in his car and finds her walking, and he pulls up alongside her and tells her, just let me take you home. She accepts the ride, and he said that the argument picked back up closer to her home. And at a stoplight, a few blocks from her residence, Adrienne jumps out of his car and starts walking home again. He got back up to her, and he told her that she left her phone. She took it from him and insisted that she did not need a ride from him anymore and that she was going to be walking the rest of the way home. He let her go, not knowing that that would be the last time he would ever see Adrienne. Still concerned, Fran called her roommates and let them know what had happened, and he wanted to make sure that Adrienne got home safely. So he told two of her friends, hey, she just jumped out of my car, she's walking home, she wants nothing to do with me. This is where I dropped her off at. Can you meet up with her, please, so that I know she gets home safe? So two of her friends did leave the party, and they walked up to meet with her. When they returned to the apartment where the party was still going, Shani and Rebecca told police that upon returning home, Adrienne was still visibly upset and went to her room where she changed her clothes, packed a bag, and told them she was going back to Fran's. They, as well as other friends at the party, desperately tried to keep her from leaving due to the fact she was extremely intoxicated. But eventually, at 3:30 a.m., Adrienne got into her car, peeled out of the driveway, and was off. Not long after Adrienne left her apartment, at approximately 3:44 a.m., a 911 call came in from a Starbucks employee who was on her way to work. This caller reported a white Ford Taurus that sped past her and was driving erratically. She said that the vehicle narrowly missed a curve in the road and then hit a median, blowing out both of the driver's side tires before speeding off again. The driver is assumed to be Adrienne because she drove a white Ford Taurus and had been both upset and under the influence of alcohol when she left in a hurry. I said it was assumed to be Adrienne, and it was. After she blew the tires out, she turned around and drove the car about a block from her apartment, where she pulled over and parked it. She then went back to her apartment for the third time, where she changed her clothes again. She called and texted Fran over and over again for a grand total of 37 times with no response. She sends a final text to him saying that she is on her way over. At 4:30 a.m., Adrienne calls for a cab to meet her at an AM/PM gas station about 5 blocks up the street from her apartment. According to the driver of the cab, he informed Adrienne during the call that he was about 28 minutes away, but he would be able to take her if she was willing to wait that long. He said that she was on his way home, so it was not a problem for him. Adrienne then walks out of her bedroom, leaving her keys and wallet on the bed. No one witnessed this third homecoming, but the clothes that her friends saw her leave in when she drove off in her car earlier were in her room on the floor, as well as her wallet and car keys. Okay, so this is a question. This is just a question. She changed a total of 3 times that night. That seems weird to me. She left her wallet on the bed. How was she planning to pay for this cab? Her friends and Fran told police that Adrienne had no money to pay for a cab. And police confirmed this by looking into her bank account. Basically, she called a cab with no money to pay him. She had no intentions of paying this cab. And I'm kind of wondering if this caused some trouble for her. Also, why didn't she just call the cab to her house? I assume it's because she didn't want to just tell her friends she just wrecked her car and she was still leaving. So I'm assuming she just wanted to keep everything on the down low. She wanted to get to Fran. She was desperate to get to Fran's house and she did not want anyone to stop her. So the AM PM was just 5 blocks away. But in those short 5 blocks, Adrienne Salinas seemed to have vanished without a trace. Adrienne never made it to the gas station to meet her cab driver. There is no surveillance videos at all from the AM PM showing that Adrienne had ever made it there. The cab driver also said he called Adrienne when he was about 8 minutes away and asked if she was still needing a ride. He told police that she said yes, she did still need a ride, but that she wasn't at the gas station yet, but was on her way to it. Surveillance video of the gas station shows her cab pulling up. The driver gets out of the cab, smokes a cigarette before getting back in and leaving. According to phone records, at 4:53 a.m., the driver of the cab calls Adrienne. The driver's name is Tom Simon Jr., and he said that he called her to ask her where she was when he pulled into the gas station and noticed that she wasn't there. 4:55 a.m., Adrienne calls him back. And he says this is her telling him that she's still on her way. She's almost there. At 5:07 a.m., her phone is off and the cab driver leaves the AM PM without his passenger. It is now Saturday, June 15th. Likely everyone is sleeping off the party from the night before. No one has heard from Adrienne. Maybe her friends assumed she made it to Fran's, and maybe Fran assumed her friends were unable to stop her from leaving. But the point is, no one heard from Adrienne at all on Saturday, June 15th. Sunday, June 16th rolls around, and it's Father's Day. And Rick Salinas is finding it really odd that Adrienne hasn't called or texted him Happy Father's Day. He also had tried to get in touch with her on Saturday and didn't hear from her. He just figured, well, tomorrow we're having that big barbecue. It's Father's Day. I'll hear from her tomorrow. She must be busy. As I said earlier, they are extremely close. Because this barbecue is coming up and it's planned, he knows she's going to be there. She's going to be showing up any minute. But the afternoon arrives with still no word from Adrienne. Rick knows at this point that something has to be wrong. He gets in his car and he drives over to Adrienne's apartment. He notices the first red flag. Her door is ajar, yet nobody is there.
Do you remember the last time you saw her?
I was in my apartment. And I remember her leaving, and she was going. And I remember hugging her, and I think every parent has that thought that they want to hold their children, and and way back in your mind somewhere, you just hope nothing is going to happen to them, and then they're going to be fine. And for that some reason, I remember giving her an extra long hug, and I don't know why.
When did you start to think something was wrong?
I remember it was Father's Day weekend.
He immediately starts calling all of her friends, who all say that the last time they saw or heard from her was on Saturday morning and that she was on her way to Fran's. Rick calls Fran, who confirms the worst. She never made it to his home that early Saturday morning. And not only that, he has not heard from her since. Her last text message said that she was on her way there, which he only noticed when he woke up. He also later on told Detective Alan Akey, who's the lead investigator on this case, or was back then, I told you there's a new one, that he had 10 missed calls from Adrienne between 4:10 and 4:17 a.m. He said she had to know I was asleep, and she probably did, but that's why she was trying to get there, to wake him up. He wasn't answering her calls. She wanted to be heard, and so she wanted to go there in person and be like, dude, get up. We need to talk. So frantic, Rick Salinas calls 911, and he reports his 19-year-old daughter, Adrienne Salinas, missing.
The thing that really hit me was the door was open on her apartment. Saturday night she wasn't there. Nobody had talked to her Saturday night, so she was gone. After many calls to everybody that I knew that that something was wrong, so that's when I made that 911 call.
It was really her father who brought it to our attention that, hey, this is not normal for my daughter.
Fran meets up with Rick, and together, along with others, they print up flyers and they begin posting them all over the area.
Flyers are posted all around Tempe of a missing 19-year-old girl who her mom is desperate to find.
I give you a flyer. My daughter's been missing since Saturday morning. If you could here to help us, thank you.
While they are canvassing the neighborhood and passing out flyers on the corner of Roosevelt and Brown Street, they see her white Ford Taurus parked on the side of the street with those 2 tires blown out. Rick calls the police and he lets them know, and they meet Rick and Fran at Adrienne's car. Inside the vehicle, they found on the driver's seat a BlackBerry phone and a notebook. They take photos of everything and they release the vehicle to the family. Something very interesting, or very sloppy in my opinion, is that they never impounded this vehicle as evidence. They never processed the vehicle. And when one of the detectives looking in on the case realizes this, and he goes back to the family to not only retrieve the vehicle, but they never took the phone or the notebook. And at this point, they're both gone. Adrienne's mother eventually admits to having the notebook, but the phone has never been located, like to this day. Here's some questions that I have about this BlackBerry phone that you probably have too. Number 1, was it Adrienne's phone? Number 2, was it Adrienne's only phone? You know, I got 2 phones. Maybe she has 2 phones. So I think it's important to know, was that the one and only phone that she had? Or was this a phone that doesn't even work, or is just being used as an iPod, or a second phone? If it was her main and only phone, why was it left in the car? Did the battery die when she was still using it? It was reportedly dead or turned off at 5:07 a.m. on that Saturday morning. And did she just say, screw it, throw it back in the car and walk up to the AM/PM? Where did it go, though? Where did it go? It is in police photos, so it was there when the car was found. Who took it and why? I know what you're thinking, and police thought it immediately as well, too. Francisco Ortega. He was fighting with her that night, and they had somewhat of a complicated relationship. That kind of makes him check all the suspect boxes, right? He was the last one to receive communication from her, from all accounts, including his. And Adrienne was on her way to his apartment. He was also there when the phone was found, and now the phone is missing. Easy arrest, right? Not exactly. Francisco Ortega is brought in for questioning, but he's 100% cooperative. He's helpful. He answers all the questions, and he even takes a polygraph test, but he fails it. Detective Akey said there could be many reasons that Fran failed this test and yet wasn't guilty. In fact, Detective Akey admitted that not one of the males who were questioned from that party passed the polygraph. It could be because they were nervous. It could be because they were hiding other activity that they could possibly be getting in trouble for, such as underage drinking or drug use. And in Fran's case, it could have been because he was not a U.S. citizen. Fran's friends and roommates were all questioned separately, and they all said that Fran was at home in bed between 2 and 5 a.m. before Adrienne's phone turned off at 5:07 a.m. and before she was even near his home. Likely, he went home after that second argument and she got out of his car and she walked home with her friends. Like as not, he went directly home and just passed out. You know, he had contacted her friends. He knew that she was safe, or she was at the last he knew, and he just went home and went to bed. So while he wasn't completely ruled out as a person of interest, he certainly was not considered a suspect, and he still isn't. Police believed his roommate's account, and they believed Fran as well. Rick Salinas and Adrienne's friends have never even for a second thought that Fran had anything to do with Adrienne's disappearance. 2 days later, police contacted the cab company that Adrienne called for a ride. A company called the Cab Guy Scottsdale. The owner of the company was named Tom Simon Sr., and his son, Tom Simon Jr., was the driver of the cab that was sent to pick up Adrienne at the AM/PM. After Tom Sr. had the conversation with police, he immediately called his son, who happened to be driving to the Grand Canyon with 2 passengers, a husband and a wife. Tom Jr. stated that he went to pick up Adrienne at the AM/PM, but that after 14 minutes of waiting for her, she never showed up. and that he called her twice. The one time she returned his call saying that she was on her way to the gas station, and the second time he called at 5:07 a.m., the phone went straight to voicemail. So he left. The passengers of his cab that day were a bit alarmed by Tom Jr.'s behavior, and the wife called the police about it. She said that after Tom Jr. received the phone call about Adrienne Salinas, that he could not shut up about her. He just kept talking and talking and talking about a missing girl and how he was the last one to hear from her. She also said that on the ride to the Grand Canyon, Tom Jr. pulled over for a smoke break in Sedona. And during that smoke break, he popped the trunk and he pulled out a hacksaw. And he made a comment saying, "I wonder how that got in there." The woman said that she and her husband felt that they may be in danger. And I'm like, I can totally understand that. If I'm in a car with someone and they hop out to have a smoke, pop the back trunk, pull out a hacksaw, wonder how that got in there. Like looking at it, like I'd be like, oh my God, this dude's fixing to kill me. Police decided to do some surveillance of Tom Jr. But Tom quickly realized that he had a tail and he began driving erratically until police finally lost him in a parking lot. He was brought in for questioning, which he challenged the detectives, saying for them to get a warrant, otherwise they needed to let him go. So they let him go, and they did just that. They got a warrant for his cab, for his home, and for his DNA. June 27th, police went and they picked up Tom Jr. and they brought him in for DNA buccal swabs. And he was not a happy camper.
Give you permission.
I'm following his direction. Can you open your mouth?
That's a violation.
How is that a violation?
He just stuck something in my fucking mouth and took something that belongs to me. It doesn't matter. That's not right. Especially from someone who got a phone call and went to try and pick up a girl that called me, and then when I got there, she's not there. And you guys put some shit in my mouth? You guys are fucking disgusting creatures.
It's a sterile cue.
Shut up.
I'm now going to give you back.
Whatever. I hate you, man.
Give you your cash back. Your belt buckle, your 10 cents, and your...
You're a disgusting human being. So is your fucking judge.
There's a copy of this at your residence. But I'm going to give you this copy as well.
I don't care. I don't want to hear anything else from you. You're a liar and you fucking steal. You stole my fucking DNA. You don't deserve it.
I'm going to count your cash out for you.
I don't like you either.
Unfortunately, because they had no DNA to match him to, and there was no evidence found in his cab or in his home, they couldn't consider him a suspect either. Police were stuck. They had no crime scene, they had no body, and they had no DNA. It seemed that in just 14 minutes and 5 blocks, Adrienne Salinas vanished into thin air. Police and everyone else began tracing the steps of Adrienne Salinas' last morning. And there were two main routes that she could have taken to get to the AM/PM. One was straight down the block, and the other would be to cut through a park. Tom Simon Sr. took it upon himself to film a video walking as if he were Adrienne, and he pointed out areas in which someone could have been hiding and possibly grabbed her.
And we're going to cross Hardy to O'Reilly's. And I want to show you a couple of things. First of all, look at that in the corner there. And look at this. Now if you go up here, remember, if you're homeless or if you're looking for shelter, this is a perfect place for shelter in the night. And looks like somebody's already using it for that. Some old socks.
Police found this a bit suspicious, to say the least, and I do too. Tom Simon Sr. did have a shady past involving a 6-year prison sentence. It is possible that he was just filming this video to show that anything could have happened to her, considering that they were questioning his son. Either way, he had been questioned thoroughly as well, and he was not considered a suspect. Now, I don't know about you guys, but putting myself in Adrienne's shoes that early morning of June 15th, I think about her state of mind and I think about her physical state as well. This is a girl who has been drinking all night long. She is upset. She is angry and she is on a mission. She is juggling both arranging this cab ride as well as blowing up her boyfriend's phone with calls and text messages. This is not a girl who is at all aware of her surroundings. She was alone in the dark. She was upset, distracted, and under the influence. Horrible, horrible, horrible combination of things to be if there happens to be a predator lurking around nearby. Looking through surveillance footage of other businesses in the area, police obtained a surveillance video from O'Reilly's Auto Parts, where at 4:52 a.m., a woman was seen around matching Adrienne Salinas' description. O'Reilly Auto Parts was directly across the street from the AM/PM that she was supposed to meet the cab driver at. On that surveillance video, you can see a woman walking through the parking lot, and shortly after, a black 4-door sedan is seen driving through the parking lot as well. This is where we're going to end part 1. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please tune in for part 2. I will be getting that out as soon as possible. I hope you enjoyed. Please leave some comments, like, subscribe, share. I mean, this case, again, we don't want it to go cold. When we get into part 2, you will see there's just a lot with this case. I think that it is solvable. I think that when I start talking to you about a couple of the suspects, you can kind of see for yourself that I think we know, and I think police know who this is. We just need some more evidence. It never hurts to share an unsolved case. It never hurts to share a missing persons case. Just because this happened over 10 years ago does not mean that it is not just as important. This family still needs closure, and Adrienne Salinas still needs justice. Part 2, we will be getting into suspects. Obviously, we already have a few. We have another one. A big one that you're not going to want to miss. So please hit that subscribe button. Also click that notification bell so that you get notified the second that I put that video out, so that you can always stay up to date with all my videos, because most of them are in parts and you don't want to miss anything. Okay? Because then I get comments like, oh, this or oh, that. And it's like, did you not watch my full video? Anyway, talk to you guys then. Bye.
Oh, you don't.